right, welcome to Bledsoe Said So.
Hey,
Nick, what's poppin'?
what's up? I haven't talked to you in a
Hey,
couple weeks.
I know. I've been in Europe. I've been in.
Yeah,
I went to the catacombs in Paris and saw the millions of bones underground. It was freaky, dude.
I can't wait to hear about
Yeah,
that, dude.
they say you can't touch them, but I definitely touched one. But anyway, so I'm gonna roll right into it today. Tonight we have a very special guest. This is something that I never in my wildest dreams would have thought that we could pull off. So just to tell a little story, back in 2012, my father got in touch with the writers of the film known as The Conjuring. It's one of the most popular horror films of all time. And they had been negotiating with us, working on like some sort of series or some sort of um, life rights type deal about our family. And throughout the course of time, we got to become friends with some of the people involved with this project, like on a more personal family level. And the long story short of that is my dad. I'm not sure if you even remember this, Andrea, but you had been introduced to my father by our mutual friend Lori, and
Yes,
you do remember? Okay, cool.
yes.
And long story short, just not to keep you on the line too long, I had the wild itch to say, you know what? How cool would it be to do a special episode of our show where we bring on Andrea Perron of the famous Perron family, probably one of the most famous American haunting stories of all time, period, and definitely the best haunting movie. So very excited to have a member of the Perron family with us tonight. Andrea, how are you doing?
I'm very well. I'm a little tired. I've got, bags under my eyes that look like I could pack and go back to Scotland with them. I just got home 2 weeks ago, a few weeks
You
ago.
look,
You
you
look
look
great.
glowing.
You look
Thank
You're
great.
you.
glowing.
Oh, thank you. It's good lighting in the room. No, I know. I'm feeling this past week, I'm feeling every moment of my 63 years, and I'll be 64 in a couple of weeks.
Oh my
Um,
gosh.
but
Happy early birthday.
well, thank you. It's just been a lot of traveling. This is my busiest month of the year.
Ah,
And then I had to make a quick trip back from Florida to Georgia to be with my mother and my sister because my sister had to have some surgery and I needed to be here to help them through this week while she recovers. So, and then I'm off to Texas, and then I'm off to Michigan again, and then I'm off to Phoenix, and then, and
wow.
then, and then,
You stay
uh,
busy.
yeah. So yeah. And believe me when I tell you, it's not all glamorous.
Yeah.
Mm.
Um, there's nothing. Living out of a suitcase and sleeping in a different bed every night plays hell on the body.
Mm.
Being at 33,000 feet on average, a great deal of the time, or stuck in airports where flights are delayed and or yikes canceled,
Mm.
can
Oof.
make for a stressful schedule. But overall, I'm very grateful. And the reason that I am is because I get to do what I love to do in life, which is share my experiences and to assure others that have had experiences of their own that number one, they're not crazy. Number two, I do believe them, and that we're really all in this together. Many
Yeah.
millions and millions of people, countless millions, have had supernatural experiences, and either they didn't realize what was happening when it did, or it frightened them and they blocked it, or they learned to accept and embrace it. And I fall into the latter category.
Wow.
Um, and I think that fear is ultimately the common denominator. I mean, even the studio executives at Warner Brothers are what I call fear based carbon units because when they read my books, and everybody associated with The Conjuring read my books. And James Wan said when he finished, he was like, "Oh hell no, we can't tell this story. We can't tell this story. And the movie was not supposed to be based on my books anyway. It was based on the case files of Ed and Lorraine Warren. Well, they only came to our house 5 times to investigate. And the 6th time that they came back was to see if my mother was still alive.
Oh my goodness.
Because the
Wow.
seance that they initiated went so horribly wrong that it almost cost her life. And they did not know. She was unconscious when they left the house that night at my father's voluminous insistence that
Wow.
they leave and take their entourage with them. So
my
when they
gosh.
left the house that night, they didn't know what my mother's status was. And they came back a couple of months later to make sure that she was alive.
Wow.
Wow, that's honestly shocking. I didn't know any of that detail. And believe me, I've seen the movie 4 times, and I was
It's
under
one of his
the
favorites. He talks about it all the time.
yeah. Well, especially I have an emotional attachment because not to make it about me or anything, but you know, they were also the same people were optioning our story, so I felt comfort watching The Conjuring, you know, because I felt this spiritual attachment to it. But anyway, like I was pretty sure that the movie had it to the, you know, to the T based on what they were telling me privately. So that's honestly a big shock to me. And I mean, wow.
I did a little bit of research in preparation for us getting to talk to you tonight, and that was one of the things that kept coming up was that like there were liberties taken. I also was interested that you said in one interview that James Wan, there were certain things that were too scary that he had to take out of the movie because he was trying to get a PG-13 rating for the movie.
They told him, he asked them, I was with James when the MPAA sent down the rating. And his head blew off his shoulders when he saw that it was an R, because they had been shooting all along for a PG-13 for obvious reasons. You know, that fills theater seats. And he told his assistant to go call them back immediately and to find out why they were giving it an R rating. He was insistent. He's like, there's no gratuitous violence. There's no bad language. There's no, you know, overt sexual anything about the film.
Right.
So why would it get an R rating? And when his assistant came back, there were he had a little piece of paper with him, and on the back of it, it was written their answer. Their response was, "It's just too scary." He wanted to know, what do I have to take out of it? What do I have to remove from this in order to get that PG-13 rating? And they said nothing. It's just too scary.
And at that point, there had already been things that he had decided not to use from your book and from the story because they were inherently too scary. Is that right?
Well, yeah, the screenwriters, you know, were men of great integrity, and they had read the books and they wanted to integrate elements of the true story into the film. And so they, with my permission, they did so. And they sent that script back to them 7 times. Every time they tried to put something in that was a scene directly from my books, Warner Brothers said, nope, take it out, redact it. We can't, no.
Just because it was just too much.
Yeah, too intense.
Yeah.
I apologize if I cut in at random times. On my end, the internet is a little bit slower than you guys, so I promise I'm not being rude. It's just, for me, there's a delay here. But I did have a question in my mind, if you don't mind me asking. I've spoken to you on the phone twice now. We've texted a little bit back and forth, and even a little bit last year when we were first introduced by our mutual friend Lori. And I had been getting the sense from you based on what you were telling me. And I wanted to not ask you on the phone because I was saving it for this program so that we could have a deeper conversation about it. And I get the sense that the experience was not all evil like it was portrayed. I mean, I vaguely remember you telling me that at the end of it, you know, similar to mine, how it's scary at first. It's like, you know, when these paranormal things are happening to you, they're shocking. You don't know what's going on, but there's a light at the end of the tunnel, right? And
yes,
am I crazy for saying that, or did it end up being positive for you?
I think that it would behoove anyone who is in a situation even remotely similar to our own to, you know, pause and reflect on what exactly is happening. And, I don't expect people to do that immediately, because in the moment that something that shocking is happening, it almost paralyzes you. As you well know, Ryan. I mean,
Yeah.
you can't move, you can't think, you're just experiencing it, and then it's as if it is seared into your memory. Um, I mean,
Yeah.
you remember the temperature of the room, you remember what you were wearing, remember, what any odor or fragrance around you was, how the air felt, how the light was, how you just remember everything about that incident, in perpetuity.
Yeah.
And uh, upon reflection and upon writing the books, which I wrote from 2007 to 2014. It took 7 years to the day to publish all 3 books. And I just can't tell you how it changed my life, because it changed so many other people's lives. Because when they've read the trilogy, they've realized that if my family's brave enough to speak our truth without consideration of any judgment or criticism, or skepticism or whatever, I don't care what other people think. Nobody in my family cares what other people think about our story. We never tried to convince anyone of anything. We've never tried to coerce anyone about, do you believe in ghosts? If you don't believe in
Right.
ghosts, well, we can't talk to you. People have their experiences, and a lot of times they blanket them in their own
Mm.
Yeah.
consciousness, because it's just too much to take in. It's too bizarre. It's too unusual. It's surreal. But over time, I realized, while growing up in that house, and we moved in when I was 12 and moved out when I was 21. Um, I learned that a number of things. First of all, to always treat them with reverence and respect, because it was their house first. That was foremost. And that was instilled in us by our mother,
Mm.
um, because she acknowledged them and did not embrace it, but she certainly did acknowledge them. We got to a point very quickly where there was no way to logically dismiss this as something. It wasn't mass hysteria. It wasn't,
Right.
I mean, with that, ghosts were not on the radar when we moved in that house. We were moving into a colonial home, an original colonial home in the northwest corner of Rhode Island. It was a magnificent estate, 200 acres of land. We were little kids. We were promised that we'd get a horse. I mean, that's all we were thinking about. That's all we cared about. Um, but one of the things that we learned was that what we might interpret as terrifying was not necessarily intended to be that way from the spirits. Yeah, we had a couple of cranky ones. Well, I know an awful lot of cranky human beings walking around in meat suits with a badass attitude most of the time. And I either tell them to chill or, take it elsewhere. Um, and so I kind of did that with the spirits
You
too.
do the same thing with the spirits.
Yeah, starting from a pretty young age,
Yeah.
I just communicated with them like, they're right here. Here they are, and if I started to have a manifestation in my bedroom while I'm in the middle of doing my science homework, which I was struggling like crazy with, and suddenly there was a manifestation occurring at that age, I didn't think, well, maybe they're just being supportive. This is not a good time. Okay.
Yeah.
Come back at another time, but this is not a good time. I need to focus all of my
I'm trying to do my homework.
attention on this. I'm in the middle of my homework, and then usually a book would go flying off my desk, and then they would be gone.
Wow.
And that's how I communicated with them. I did have fear in the house, I will admit,
Yeah.
openly.
Who wouldn't?
But it
Yeah.
wasn't because of me. They never did anything to me per se. But there were issues with members of my family that were quite frightening. And so that was where my fear rested. But I got to a place where I no longer feared them. And I think that when we all achieved that mindset, that it was just more of an acknowledgement of them, that they are there. The activity um, went down considerably. And it wasn't that it stopped. There was, lots of mischievous things that would happen, and lights going on and off, and, all your standard fare. Um, but it was not.
So
It was not horrifying anymore, I guess is the best way to
Right.
put it.
Yeah. Do you think
We
that?
got used
I'm
to
sorry,
it.
Nick. You had a question.
Oh, I was going to ask. So, in the entirety of the 9 years that you were in that house, was it
Almost
9?
10.
Almost 10. Did it ever stop?
No.
Wow.
No.
So it may have went down a little bit when you kind of started coming to terms with, okay, these are spirits here. They're not necessarily malevolent, but they're here. It went down a little bit, but it never fully stopped.
No, it never did, and it never has.
Wow.
And one of
Okay.
the wisest things that my mother ever said was that we could leave the farm, but the farm would never leave us.
Wow.
Once that door is open, once you've encountered spirit, once you've been touched by spirit, that is a door that's opened that never does close. And you can turn your back on it if you choose to, but eventually something will reach through and tap you on the shoulder and make its presence known, to just remind you that it's there. And we've had paranormal experiences, numerous ones, all through our lives since living at the farm, even in the house that I'm in right now. In fact, my sister told me, I think it was in 2008, and we had a major manifestation happen in the house. And she came up to me and she said, my house wasn't haunted until you moved into it. And I was like, sorry. I thought I was traveling just with the cat and the dog. I didn't know I was bringing.
You had a hitchhiker. You had a
down
stowaway.
Yeah. I just have to say, Andrea, excuse my language, but you are a fucking incredible human being. And I just really feel like we are kindred spirits. I mean, I know I've told you this on the phone, and I'm not trying to sound like a broken record, but just to say this on air, to put it into perspective, these experiences started happening to you when you were 12.
Yeah.
And likewise, strange experiences started happening to me when I was 13. And I really feel like just hearing you speak, just seeing your face as you talk about these spirits, and forgive me if I come off as like reading you or this or that and the other, but I just get the strong sense that you have an intimate connection with these experiences and I feel like I know this to be true because I have the same perspective. And it's like you almost have this room in your heart for these experiences that are a part of you, and they're ingrained in your psyche since being that little child. And it's like just as real as the people around you are the spirits. You know what I mean? Does this sound crazy?
No, it makes perfect sense. You see, because to me, they're still very real and alive in their own realm. And because I feel, I have respect for the dead. I have, excuse me, just a sec. And that's why I needed tea.
You got to get that sweet tea to wash that down for sure. That's a privilege that we Southerners enjoy. Thoroughly.
Yes.
It was, I think, just it was a heightened awareness that we don't live in a three-dimensional world. We live in a multi-dimensional universe. It altered the trajectory of my entire life, because when I was a child, all I wanted to do was become a veterinarian. I have an inordinate intimacy with animals that is so much a part of my life that I can't even imagine not having that tenderness and that camaraderie. And my family has rescued hundreds of animals over the course of
Oh,
these many decades. And one of the things that I learned is that that empathy and that sympathy and that affection can be spread amongst all living beings and all of existence. And
Yeah.
I think that by loving them and embracing them and forgiving them for their sometimes iffy behavior um, was the key that brought peace to a tumultuous household, and it wasn't
mm,
always tumultuous. My books are entitled House of Darkness, House of Light, all
right.
three
Wow.
volumes, because it was both. And my mother is the one that created the title for the
Oh,
books,
wow.
the
That's
trilogy.
beautiful.
And she's the one that said, because it was both, it was everything all wrapped up in one thing. Well, isn't that the nature of life? Isn't
Wow.
everything consciousness? Everything is energy. Everything is existence. Everything is one thing. And I
Yeah.
think that when human beings get to a point where we come to an awareness and a realization of the oneness of existence, that's when we will achieve peace with each other and that we will be welcomed into the broader universe as members of the family.
I'm pretty sure
Wow.
we've said almost exactly that on this show before. That's profound. That is very profound. We we
And
would
see,
we would agree with you.
oh,
Yeah.
100%. And it makes me sad because it's like having seen the movie so many times, it's spun as a traditional spooky ghost story. And
Yeah.
after having spoken with you, I get the sense that it's not just a ghost story, but it's something much greater. Let me ask you this, and I'm sorry if I'm asking you questions that you've been asked a million times, but I honestly just am very fascinated, and I kind of really want to know the answers. Is there anything in particular that these spirits communicated to you or your family about why your family was being visited from the other side?
No, no, they never did. But I'll tell you, I have two very good friends, and you will hear their names a lot in the future. They will be the bearers of the torch in this field for generations. They're two young folks, Cody Ray Desbian and Satori Hawes, Jason Hawes's daughter. And they have literally tapped into the spiritual field so that when they embrace each other or even just hold hands, they are able to make direct contact with spirit. I mean, it has virtually created, a null and void status for Spirit Box and every other form of technical equipment that people use. Their gadgets and gizmos are a waste because Cody and Satori exist. And what they have accomplished in a few short years of perfecting this method that they quite literally stumbled upon several years ago, just at the beginning of the pandemic, um, has proved invaluable, an incredible resource. And I'll tell you two quick stories. Um, they were at the farmhouse. The farm has been purchased by Jacqueline Nunez, who I have a very close relationship with. She is a extraordinary woman, a wonderful woman who really gets it, who really understands the true value of that farmhouse for spiritual enlightenment. And she had invited Cody and Satori one night, and I wasn't there. I was off someplace else in the country or the world. And they had a spirit connection session in the house, and a spirit came through, and he said that his name was Joseph. And everybody looked at each other because, of course, they had all read my books and they did not remember me making any reference to a spirit named Joseph
Right.
in the story. And so they were confused. And that spirit could see that they were confused. And he said his next statement was, Nancy called me Manny.
Oh,
Whoa.
Yeah. Okay.
Nancy
Now,
being your family member,
my
correct?
sister, my
Sister.
second sister. Yeah. And for years, for decades, we thought that that spirit was more than likely Johnny Arnold. And it wasn't. It was Joseph Arnold. And he
Wow.
identified himself through them.
Wow.
And so, still now, 50 years hence, we're still learning
Yeah.
stories about the spirits at the farm. Now,
Wow.
a few weeks ago, I was up there doing some filming, and Cody and Satori came to the farm, and we did another session, which we filmed. We've got all of this is on film. Everything I'm telling you about is filmed and can be found out there through Rise Up Paranormal with Ken DaCosta, and Julie DeMay they have all the film of everything that they've done with Cody and Satori. And I was sitting in the room, and a spirit came through. We were sitting in what was formerly our dining room. And there were probably 30 people around them in the house. And Jacqueline was sitting on the Parsons bench behind me. And I was sitting on the sofa closest to Cody and Satori. And a spirit came through, and she had to kind of shove some of the others back because everybody wanted to talk at once. Why? Because I was there. And
and they remember you.
And they know me very well. And so they spelled out my name. It's all done by spelling, using the alphabet and numbers, and spelling out messages that somebody sits and writes down methodically until we've got complete sentences and we know what they're trying to communicate.
Mhm.
And this spirit came through, and she identified herself as Abigail Arnold. And
Wow.
so she spelled out my name. So it was made clear that I was there in the house. And then she said a message for me. And the message from all of the spirits in the house was this: 4 words: we miss your family.
Mm.
You know, I was blown back. Meanwhile, oh no, it gets even better. Meanwhile, she's giving her name, her date of birth, and her date of death to Cody and Satori. And Jacqueline is sitting behind me, plugging that information in to Ancestry.com. And all of a sudden, she's like, folks, here she is. And there's a picture of Abigail Arnold with the exact dates of birth and death that she, in real time, looked up in Ancestry.com while we are speaking to this spirit.
So, Andrea, let me ask you this. I had cut out for a moment, so I caught the tail end of this. So I want to ask you this. What do you think? Do you think that these spirits are truly the spirits of a living person who has died and left this plane, and they're still kind of around here? What do you?
Yes.
Okay.
They're not demons.
Right.
I've never seen a demon. I can't tell you whether or not demons exist, but I will tell you what makes me want to throw up is when everybody, that's got a TV show out there is trying to go into somebody's home and find a demon, or worse yet, go in and claim that they have and tell these people that they need to move. That is just irresponsible. And I don't watch any of the paranormal shows or anything. I get wind of things like this, and it's so upsetting to me because I feel spiritually that they have lingered to inform us, to inform the living of their existence. And I can't think of a time in history that it has been more poignant or powerful to know of the existence of spirit at a time when we've lost well more than 1 million members of our own society here in the United States to COVID. And we think that those people died alone, when in fact, there was someone on the other side ready to receive them.
Mm.
And to know that our loved ones have not been lost to us, but that they can be communicated with, that they hear us, that they are surrounding us all the time, that all of us, no matter where we are, we don't have to be in a haunted house. We can be out in the middle of a forest. And if we want to communicate with our ancestors, our family members, our loved ones, we can do that.
Yeah. I get the strong sense that in some strange, mysterious way that maybe we can't understand with our little 3D pea brains, your family was destined to have this experience so that you could be an example of how to live through this and come out on the other side in peace. You
Yes.
know, and that just blows my
And
mind
in
'cause
one piece, you know.
yeah, yeah, in
Yeah,
one piece. And I can relate to that, like having gone through these experiences that at the time were hellacious. I mean, just in the case of mine, my family's falling apart. I'm going to middle school, seeing a guidance counselor, coming home from school, and I'm having a social worker come and sit with me and talk to me about why, I'm having problems in the house with mommy and daddy and aliens and shit. And like I really resonate with you that this had to be tough as a 12-year-old girl. It had to be tough. It had to be tough to go to school and worry in the back of your mind, like, happen when I go home tonight.
I had more than that to worry about because, we were all raised to be honest children. And as these experiences were happening to us in a house that it seems like everybody else in the whole town knew of its reputation except us.
Yeah.
And when we would share incidents that happened with our friends, and then they would tell others, it got around very quickly. And I was a straight A, goody two shoes, destined for college student who got called into the principal's office and threatened with expulsion if I was ever to speak another word of what was quote unquote happening at my family home.
Oh my
that's
gosh.
awful.
I was told by the principal that not only would I be expelled from school, but that he would make sure that I didn't get into the college of my choice or any college. I mean, he threatened me. He physically intimidated me.
That's
And
disgusting.
Why do you get the sense he did that?
because he was terrified,
Yep.
absolutely terrified.
He believed
And
it.
he told me, I don't want to get one more phone call from one more parent, from one of your friends telling me about your ghosts, and it's like, they don't exist. You're making this up. You want some attention, whatever. I'm like, fuck you. You don't know shit. But, I didn't say that out loud
Yeah.
because, of course, then I would have been expelled. But, it was, I just shut my mouth and I just stopped talking about it for 30 years.
That's
Oh my God.
disgusting.
That's
With any-
traumatic.
With nobody except my family. I mean,
That's
all my
traumatic.
friends from college and everything, even ones that came home and spent a few days here and there with me, they never knew anything about the background of the story of the house because I just didn't dare. My mother says, fear the living, not the dead. And I understand exactly what she means.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Of all the experiences, I'm sorry, there's a little delay. I
That's
don't mean to
okay.
cut
No,
you off,
that's okay, sweetheart. What's your question?
That on my side here, but of all the experiences that I had growing up as a kid, the thing that hurt the most was the real life people. It wasn't the beings or what have you, whatever I want to call them or label them. The reality is, when my dad went on TV the next day in school, there was laughter. I remember it in the back of my mind. I'll never forget this memory, going to school with a T-shirt on that my aunt had printed of just kind of like a little private family celebration that, oh, wow, we're on TV, and I wear that shirt to school the next day. And it just so happens my teacher saw the Fayetteville Observer that my dad was on a documentary. And what did she do? She made me stand up in front of the class. I'm a 15-year-old boy at this point. And there's, people in the room, friends of mine that have no clue of any of this stuff, girls I may have had a crush on or whatever, just a nervous, traumatized 15-year-old kid having to stand up and tell the story in front of his class, and they all laughed, so like I relate to you there. That's particularly, I feel so much empathy for your family, not just because it's a crazy paranormal story, but because I get it. I feel like I understand what you've been through, and it's a light at the end of the tunnel, but it sucked being that kid and being intimidated by the principal, shut your mouth, or in my case, it was aunts, it was uncles, it was grandparents, it was friends, it was this, that. Like, it sucked. And what I really wanted to do was to bring you on this program and give you a chance to talk about that side of being an experiencer, the part that was in your formative years that guided you on the course of the rest of your destiny, like, I don't know. Like, I feel a really powerful connection to your family's story from the moment I saw that film.
Well, I have the film is about 5% accurate, and
Wow.
the rest of it is conjured up in the minds of two creative screenwriters that desperately wanted to tell the real story and were stopped at every turn.
I would love to hear the real story, by the way, as much or as little as
3 books.
I gotta read those
Yeah.
books. I cannot wait. I can't wait.
We've got to read them. We got to read them on
years.
I
Almost
can't wait.
as long as we lived at the farm. It took me 7 years to write that story in all of its detail. And there's only a couple of incidents that I left out of the book because my sisters requested that I not include them. Either they were just too painful or too personal, or they just didn't want them in the books. However, I have written them into the screenplays. They have since given me permission to include everything because they know that they can trust me with their story. And they didn't know when I first released the books how they would be received. I didn't know how they would be received. I didn't know there was a worldwide paranormal community. But I will tell you this, I have received thousands and thousands of letters from readers of the trilogy who have told me in myriad ways how reading those books changed their lives, how they don't think about anything the same way again, how it opened them up and caused them to make, a quantum leap in consciousness and in their own spiritual ascension. And more importantly than anything, it gave them freedom. It liberated them to speak their own truth. I can't tell you how many times people have approached me at different events and told me something that they never told, their parents or their siblings. And then they grew up and they got married, never told their spouse, never told their children, never told anybody, but they told me. And I have always maintained that the 3 most powerful words in this language or any other are I love you. But also the most powerful words are I believe you. It literally changes a person's life. I've had gallons of tears cried on my shoulders. People don't emotionally fall to pieces after disclosing something that they've lived with lifelong, that they finally found the person that they could say it to, who they knew would get it. And then once I say, I believe you, just give me your pain, just let it go. Just, it won't stay with me. I will release it. Just give it to me so that you can be free from now on. And it is the most remarkable healing experience. And it happens over and over and over again. It is uniformly miraculous in the same way that, of course I care about the spirits, and I do care who they were in life, but only one of the spirits in our house ever self-identified. And that was the little boy who was Rory in the movie. But his actual name was Oliver Richardson. And he identified himself to my sister, my baby sister, April, God rest her soul, when she was about the same age that he was when he died. And my mother didn't even know that the house had been built by the Richardson family. As far as we knew, the house was the Arnold estate. But we didn't know that the Richardson family had actually built the house, and then it became the Arnold estate through marriage. But Oliver Richardson is the only one that ever self-identified. It doesn't matter to me who they were in life, that they still are in afterlife is the magic and the mysticism and the miracle of spirit. And to know, for me, it's not wishful thinking. It's not anything other than knowledge. I know that there is something beyond our mortal existence. All these 50 years later, since, I'm 63, we moved in when I was 12. I still can't tell you exactly what it is. I can't tell you how it works. They can't tell us how it works. It's like this compact that is made in their realm that they can't give us that information, but they can make their presence known. And for me, personally, I don't think that there's anything more important to know in life, even though the mystery of life and death remains. We do have some clues. And I'm so grateful, especially now, when so many people have so suddenly lost their nearest and dearest to an invisible novel coronavirus. For them to, so many people have been reaching out to me that have lost loved ones during, because they're searching for answers. They want to know that the one that they loved and lost is okay. And so they're reading the books, they're reaching out into this community, they're making the trek to different events that I appear at around the country to talk to me about this, because they are so heartbroken. And what I say to them is, imagine this. Imagine that we lived in a world where there is life and death and an afterlife, but we never know about that afterlife. As far as we know, we live and we die, and that's it. And it's over. And all the compassion and the love and the tenderness and what we've learned and all the music that we've created and all the artwork that we've created and all the contributions that we've made to the planet and everything that we did in the course of our lifetimes is just lost. It's just gone in the blink of an eye with the last breath taken. Well, that's not the truth. And if spirit didn't exist, we wouldn't know that that's not the truth. We wouldn't know that these beings that were once human beings go on in some way, shape, or form that is still energetic enough that it can draw upon our energy to manifest itself, to make its presence known to us. That is absolutely phenomenal in every conceivable sense of that word. Yeah. And in this case, I would much rather know than not know, because there are only two questions that I think hold supreme pertinence to human beings. And the first one is there something after life? Right. Do we go on? And yes, the answer is yes. I can't tell you how or how it works, or, right, if the soul, stays manifest in form. I don't know. No one knows. If my family doesn't know, no one does. And if they tell you that they do, they are lying sacks of shit. Right. They don't know.
Nobody knows. If we were supposed to know, if we were supposed to have some kind of way to find out, we would know by now. We would know for sure by now. It's a mystery for a reason. Yeah. That's what makes it mystical. It's that it's a mystery. You
And
have to believe.
It keeps us thinking and growing and evolving spiritually, and coming into I think a greater understanding of our place in the world and in the universe. But the second question that is actually more important to me than the first one is, are we alone in the universe? And the answer to that is no, we are not alone in the universe. We are so not alone. It's ridiculous how not alone we are. Ridiculous.
Yeah, I've heard a couple of brief mentions in your interest in the UFO phenomenon, and I wondered if we would get to that at some point during this interview. There are, by the way, I just wanted to say, the list of similarities between your story and Ryan's family story, they are perceivably endless. Like, down to even the last thing that you said about the entities wanting to make their presence known for a very specific intention. That, that's with the entity encounters with the Bledsoe family. It's very obvious that these entities, that they want you, the one thing that they want you to know is that they are there and that they are making their presence known intentionally. But I mean, the list of similarities is endless between you two.
Yes,
yeah, it's honestly. Sorry, it's the delay
no,
thing.
that's
I'm
okay.
gonna have
We've
to buy
talked about this a lot, privately off the air,
Yeah.
and yes, it's amazing.
It's beautiful.
It's incredible. I get the sense that we're like kind of like spiritually like siblings in a past life kind of deal. Like when I speak to you, I just get this bright, familiar, super friendly glow. Like, I love this person, I could trust this person, and we've only talked twice, but I'm telling you, I can't. You can't help the way you feel when you feel an energy from somebody. I know this person. I believe this person. I trust, and like the similarities between me and you, I bet when we were kids, we would have been best friends.
Oh,
Like
absolutely.
if you put me at 13 going through these experiences, and you at 12 going through, I bet the lives could have we could have changed the world together with just from the passion.
Well,
and
you know what, Ryan, we're not dead yet. Neither
It's
one.
never too late.
Let's just keep trying to change the world.
There
yeah, I
you
mean
go.
we are talking right now.
I have to get my baby and introduce my peanut butter cup.
Oh,
Oh my goodness.
She's my baby. She's my sweet
oh my goodness, what's her name? Buttercup.
Princess Peanut Buttercup.
Princess. Oh, and I recall yesterday you telling me she has a boyfriend.
She does. It's little Sam I am. He's sleeping with his grandmother right now.
Oh,
yes.
Princess Peanut Buttercup. That's the best name
That's
I've
amazing.
ever heard for
Princess
a pet.
Peanut Butter
She's
Cup.
a little dog with a big name, and
I have a
baby.
cat named Sugar Bear. It's kind of a kindred name there. His name's Sugar Bear. That's a drawing of him right there. My cat did, or my wife did. I said my cat did.
You said your cat did it.
Yeah. My wife drew that. Yeah, Sugar Bear and Princess Peanut Buttercup.
One more question, if that's okay.
Yeah.
Go right ahead.
Did you guys hear me? Sorry, I'm screen black. I'm telling you,
No,
I'm going to buy a
250
freaking foot Ethernet cord. I am not going to go through this lag.
I've been telling you.
Again. I know. That's why I've been kind of surprisingly. That's why I haven't been very talkative this episode. I keep every few seconds has been a glitch, and I'm like sitting here trying to hear you.
We can hear you. We can hear you. Fine.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I will say, I wanted to ask you this, and I don't want to leave on a dark note. So please feel free to like take it out however you want to end it, and we'll shift back to a positive note. But I have to ask, was there really a witch named Bathsheba that lived on the property in the 1600s?
No.
Okay.
No. She was Bathsheba Sherman was not a member of the Arnold family. She was not a member of the Richardson family. She was born of a union between the Thayer and the Taft families, two very prominent families that are associated with the building of Brown University in Providence.
Oh, wow.
How she ended up married to Judson Sherman out in the backwoods of northwestern Rhode Island, nobody knows. There was an accusation that a baby had died at the farm in her care. And that when the baby was examined, it was found that there had been a needle in the back of its skull, which was at the time, there were a number of people in town who apparently accused her of practicing witchcraft and sacrificing this infant to the devil. You know, back at a time when that
It
kind
was
of
the 1600s. Yeah.
well, no, it was the 1800s.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And no, she did not hang herself at a tree that does not exist on the property. She lived from 1812 to 1885. Three of her four children died before the age of 4. Only one of her children outlived her. She is buried in consecrated ground in the center of Harrisville. Had there been any proof of any kind that she had done something wrong, had committed murder, was a practitioner of witchcraft, she would not be buried in the middle of that cemetery with her husband and all of her children around her.
Right.
And though I cannot absolve her of anything that she was accused of in life, I am her great defender, because I don't think that you should accuse someone of murder if you have absolutely no evidence to charge them with. Apparently, there was a very brief inquest in the town of Chepachet, which was at the time the seat, because Burrillville was not even an incorporated township. It was just a smattering of villages. And the presiding judge, let it go, never took it to court, never took it to trial or anything, and believed her when she said she had nothing to do with the death of the baby. Also, keep in mind, it was at a time where, you couldn't run down to Macy's and get your newest outfit. Everything was made at home. Everybody made their own clothing. There were sewing baskets in every room of
Needles everywhere.
homes.
Yeah.
And that this could have been a terrible accident. We don't know if the baby was her own or if it was a member of the Arnold family. All of the cemeteries up there have little tiny headstones that don't even have names written on them, because the infant mortality rate was so high. But I just, I defend Bathsheba, because I have no proof, none whatsoever in the historical record, that she did anything to harm anyone. And one of the things that I so appreciate about her is that she knows that I care for her and that I defend her reputation, because I was doing a spirit box session one time with my friend George Lopez, who I wrote In a Flicker with, which is, if you have the stomach for it and you can stand graphic Jack the Ripper stories, it's a great book to read.
Yeah.
Wow.
And but George and I have worked together in this field for 10 years now. And not only did we write that book together, but occasionally we get together and we'll have spirit box sessions. And she came through in one of our sessions, and George got her to say her name in full. And then he told her that I was with him, and she knew that. And he asked her what one word she associates with me. And the instant answer came through as clear as could possibly be: love.
I knew it. I knew you were going to say that.
Love.
I knew it.
Wow.
And Cody Ray Desbian, the man I told you about that has the thing with Cody and Satori.
Right.
He was recording me. I was at her gravesite probably about 6 or 7 years ago now. And he was just recording my commentary while I was at her gravesite. And he got a disembodied voice, her voice, screaming her name. And there had to have been 30 people with me or more. And no one heard it, including myself. But it was clearly in the recording. And we've already used that in a couple of documentaries. There's a Class A EVP of a disembodied voice of Bathsheba Sherman, just screaming her name. It is extraordinary.
I gotta see that. Oh
So,
my goodness.
Yeah, I would love to see that as well, by the way. If you would be willing or comfortable to send that to me or point me in the direction, I'd love to see that. But I guess what we're figuring out here is Hollywood really did just put a total spin on the story. I mean, that's shocking, but not
Yeah.
really.
No,
but not really.
Right.
So
No.
I want to ask and again, I know you've heard the story a million times, but I just figured, for the sake of the listener who's tuning in, I know they're probably mind blown hearing you speak because I am. If I am,
Oh,
and if
yeah.
Nick is, they have to be.
Yeah,
They have to be.
definitely.
Well, let me see if I'm psychic, and I'll answer your question before you ask it. No, I never met the Annabelle doll. No, that doll was not story at all. No, that's how cynical Hollywood is. They
Actually,
took that story and wrapped it into ours to set up the next movie.
The Warrens were the only ones that were involved with the Annabelle doll, right? That had nothing to do with you or your family in any way.
Well, see, that's the thing.
It existed.
That's the thing about the movie is it focuses on the Warrens and the family.
Warrens.
The family are just like characters at the house, and it's kind of like
Yeah.
it should be the other way around. The family's the one who went through it.
Well, but the whole series of films was made to spotlight the Warrens' history as paranormal investigators. All of the movies are directly from their case files.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
But actually
happened to be the first one, and it was so popular and so successful that it catapulted the whole rest of the series. If it had bombed, there probably never would have been, an Annabelle movie or the Nun movie or the Devil Made Me Do It or whatever. But Warner Brothers purchased the case files of Ed and Lorraine Warren, and they found our story to be the most compelling and intense of all of the stories, and that's why it became the first film to give the series a chance to launch successfully.
I will say this, the very good thing about the movie is I can tell you without a doubt after watching the film and not having any clue that they altered your story, I believed your family without a question. Just because of, I don't know, call me crazy, but because of how good the movie was, because of the angle, because of like not going into, not or just seeing the film, not knowing anything about the family, watching the movie, I'm like, wow, I believe this case. And then researching, and some of the stuff we had discussed tonight, I had heard. Some of the stuff I had talked to about privately with the screenwriters, like they have told me at my house in private that they didn't agree with everything that James Wan added into the film as well. But point being, like, bare minimum, I'm sure if it wasn't for that movie, maybe we wouldn't be here talking today. And I'm sure that like all those there's a negative spin on it. There has to be some good from it, right? But I guess what I wanted to ask was, it wasn't about the Annabelle doll entirely, actually. I already knew that had nothing to do with your family. What I was going to ask was if Bathsheba really wasn't a witch and she really didn't sacrifice, her baby to the devil in all this way, the movie put it, were you able to determine a reason as to why, for example, like your mother needed a seance or any of these spirits were particularly malicious or aggressive? Was there ever any determined reason for this? Or was it just like you were victim to the experiences and you're just riding it out?
Well, my parents never asked for a seance. That was foisted upon them by Mr. and Mrs. Warren, insisting that it was necessary and scaring my father into believing that there was the possibility that my mother was in the throes of oppression and
possessed.
And close to being possessed. And my father didn't believe that. He felt like that their presence was actually doing more harm than good.
Wow.
The reason that Mrs. Warren focused on Bathsheba was because the first time, and my mother did not go seek them out. She had no idea who they were when they came to our door. Word had gotten to them that this family out in northwestern Rhode Island had a predicament. And having been told by someone else about our story, and we were in just the first year or two of it, they came and sought us out. It wasn't the other way around.
Right.
And Mrs. Warren walked in the house, and not knowing any of the history of the area or anything that had happened, she came in the house and she said, "I sense a malignant presence in this house. Her name is Bathsheba." Well, Bathsheba Sherman wasn't known for being a particularly pleasant woman. That she had a lot of anger issues. She treated her farmhands very poorly, according to the town historian that we met when we moved there. She had a bad reputation as being an unkind person. Um, but if I had lived through what she lived through and lost 3 of her 4 children and had the kind of life that she had, I probably wouldn't have been too pleasant either.
Wow.
And to be vilified in the film the way that she was, it's like she got a raw deal in life and in the afterlife. And even though The Conjuring has brought, countless people to our real story, there is a very dark side to writing the words based on a true story on a
Yeah.
movie poster, because after that movie was released, some hellion went into the Riverside Cemetery and destroyed the tombstone that had been there since 1885, that had, that was Bathsheba's final resting place,
Oh
and
no.
desecrated her grave site, and did so much damage that it had to be removed entirely.
Oh
And
no.
there's, because of a fictional film.
Yeah,
Right.
that's
So,
just darkness right there.
it is. And when you're living in a world where that kind of people that are that stupid, that are that oblivious, that can't figure out that a movie might not be telling you the whole truth or the whole
Yeah.
backstory, and you don't want to bother doing any research or listening to, the family that lived through it. I mean, her gravestone has been repaired, replaced, and then desecrated 3 times
Oh,
since that film
No.
was. And what final rest does Bathsheba get? What final rest does she get? Because Mrs. Warren identified her as the culprit in the house, and then everything that happened in that house got blamed on Bathsheba, according to Mrs. Warren, not according to our family. She was not a member of the Arnold family. She did not live at that farm. I know that we found out recently that her husband perished while he was on the property, while he was there, and perhaps that's part of her attachment.
yeah.
And when I can do a private session where it's not, there's not an audience around us, I would like to try to connect with her directly through Cody and Satori, so
Oh,
that
that
I
would be
can ask some
incredible.
of these questions and get some clarity. But I defend her.
I would love to
Because,
see that on video.
That
yeah,
would be
she
incredible.
is, I think she got a bad rap in life, and then to be, the villainous, horrible spirit in afterlife is just not fair. None of
Yeah.
us would want that. None of us would want that.
People curse her name after seeing this movie, and it was such
Desecrate her
darkness. Yeah,
tombstone.
desecrate her tombstone, and her name is
Yeah,
associated with darkness and
yeah.
evil. Yeah, that's just not
Well,
good
yes,
energy to
it's
put
not
on a
right.
soul in life or death.
And even Mrs. Warren came to me when we saw the film together a few months before it went out internationally. We had a private screening of it together in California. And she came to me after the film was over and she said, "I didn't tell them that. That's not what I told them. That's not what I shared with them. That's not how it was." And I just tapped her hand. I mean, she was in her late 80s when we were together, and I hadn't seen her in 40 years. And she was still sharp
Wow.
as a tack, and she recognized me immediately. And I just
Wow.
patted her hand and I said, "Lorraine, it's all in the script. It's in the script. It doesn't, that nobody was going to follow your work, to the letter through, and nobody was going to follow my work. you know, and we will, both of us, be talking about this and trying to clarify things and to forward the truth of what happened for the rest of our lives. And, you know, a few years later, she passed away, and now I carry the torch for her. Now it's my job to clarify, because I don't believe for an instant, you know, the Warrens made mistakes. They were human beings. We all make mistakes, but they were pioneers in this field, and they did work unlike what anybody else had done before them. And they tried to bring the truth to light. They tried to make a difference, and they were devoutly religious. They were Roman Catholic, devout Roman Catholics. The film did a terrible injustice to my family in that they tried to juxtapose the devout Roman Catholic Warrens to the godless heathen Perrons, and nothing could have been further from the truth. We were all born and raised Catholic. We were all baptized. We made our first communions. My mother converted to Catholicism to marry my father. My father's intention after high school was to go into the Navy and serve his country, and then go back and go into the seminary and become a priest. And in the interim, he met my mother and fell in love with her. But my father was born and raised, went to parochial school, was an altar boy his whole childhood. And, you know, for the film to portray my family as somehow not being spiritually connected, not having a belief in God, was, I think, the greatest injustice of the film. And my mother feels that way too. And she thought, you know, when she saw the film, a couple of years after it had been released, she decided one night she was finally ready to see it. And so we had the DVD and we plugged it in for her. And I thought she was going to be very upset about the scene where she's hovering over my baby sister, you know, getting ready to plunge scissors into her heart. And I thought that was going to make her head blow off of her shoulders. And she just looked and she says, "That is the most ridiculous thing I have seen in my life."
Yeah, they had her upside down sitting on the ceiling.
That, you know, yes, I know it's Holly weird. It's what they do.
Yeah.
That's
if I'm
dark.
not mistaken,
Rely on method and formula because they want to recreate what has sold in the past.
Exactly. And is it true that she wasn't even possessed? She was more attacked. She was, with a coat hanger. There was an incident.
My mother was attacked numerous times on that property.
Oh,
she was attacked in the garden. She was attacked in the barn. She was attacked in her bedroom. She was, you know, my mom suffered some physical attacks, and she said once in an interview, in one of the very few interviews that she's ever granted, she said that once she realized that, you know, the house was occupied by more than our family, she said, I wasn't all that concerned because I didn't think that they were capable of hurting us, but I was wrong about that. And there was one malevolent spirit in the house that targeted my mother and did not want her in that house. She wanted us, the 5 children, to stay, and she wanted my father to stay, but she wanted my mother out of that house, and she threatened her over and over again. And I don't know why, but I can tell you it wasn't Bathsheba Sherman, because when she did speak to my mother, when she finally actually spoke to my mother, it was in the use of the English language that was archaic in the 1800s. You know, 'twas mistress once afore ye came, and mistress here will be anon. Will drive ye out with fiery broom, will drive ye mad with death and gloom. She just read, just spouted this.
That's not 1800s.
No, that language was already out of use in the 1800s when Bathsheba lived. And I truly do believe, even though I don't know exactly who it was that taunted and tormented my mother, I do know one thing, that spirit was long dead before Bathsheba Sherman was even born.
Yeah. So the movie got it all wrong. I'm starting to realize now, like
All wrong.
the more I think about it, that's a very dark net that they've cast over the story of your family, and it makes me so glad that these not to put any darkness on anybody's name, but like it makes me so glad that our project with them fell through. It used to bother me. It used to be like, this, that, or the other, but now I'm sitting here like, thank God they didn't tell our story. Holy shit.
The
They
thing
were going to
is,
make it horror.
you could tell your story better than they ever could.
Absolutely.
I am grateful. I am grateful for, in a couple of respects, everybody that worked on The Conjuring put their whole heart and soul into it. They knew that they were representing 7 members of a family that were all still alive. Since then, sadly, my baby sister has passed away. April passed
so
away
sorry.
in
Rest in peace.
2017. Very sudden, very tragic.
Oh my God.
And I will always be grateful that I grew up in an environment where I learned to perceive the existence of spirit, because when April is around us now, we all know it. And had I not grown up in that environment, I don't know if I would have been able to identify her presence the way that we do with such ease now.
That's so beautiful.
She's still around us all the time. And she was physically debilitated. She had a fractured bone in the back of her neck, and she could not travel with me or, do any events with me. And now she's with me all the time. She just went to Scotland with me.
That's amazing. That's beautiful.
Let me show you this castle. It was wonderful. I felt her presence around me the entire 2 weeks that I was there. And
dream
it was
of her?
wonderful to share that with her.
Does she communicate to you in dreams at all?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
But sometimes you couldn't even, qualify them as dreams. I have visitations. We all do. We all do.
I get them from my grandparents.
Yeah.
All the time. It's like you just know it's a real message. It's hard to describe.
Yeah.
Wow. Unbelievable. Andrea, I feel like, in the future, I hope you enjoyed tonight. I certainly had a blast getting to know you.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
It went way better than I could have expected. I mean, you are glowing. When I spoke to you on the phone, there was a glow from your voice, and now I finally see your face, and there's a glow from your face. And I just want to say, like, from the bottom of my heart, the torch for your family, that's incredibly brave. And I know this to be true because I'm trying to do the same thing, and it's not easy. It's very difficult to go out there and speak, and despite the fact that there are people who, just for you merely being yourself, just for explaining a situation that happened to you, people want to silence you. They want to lock you in a mental institute. They want to say you're crazy. They want to say you're on drugs. They want to say you're hallucinating. Just it's like the blessing and the curse just for having these experiences. It's like people will always.
Let me tell you something. Anybody that ever tells you that they don't believe you, they're scared to death that you're telling the truth, and that your truth would fracture their belief system if they accepted it. And so what they do is they deflect their own fear back onto you. You don't need to accept that or take that. You speak your truth, my darling. You speak your truth. And when we all do that, if we all cumulatively, those who have experiences like this in this life, all had a single database to put all of our evidence into and all of our stories into from all around the world, there wouldn't be any skeptics left. There wouldn't be any cynics left, because this is irrefutable evidence, not only that we go on in some way, shape, or form in an afterlife, that there is some form of afterlife to our human existence, but that we are not alone in the universe, and that spirit essentially becomes extraterrestrial when they no longer have a physical form to inhabit, but they do retain residual characteristics. And that is what needs to be studied. And just thanking them for having the courage to make themselves known to us on this plane of action, which I can imagine, it has to be difficult. And yet they want to. What I love the spirits. I love them and I thank them. I am deeply grateful to them. Their presence in my life altered my life and has consequently altered many countless thousands of other lives of people who are now absolutely liberated to speak their own truth. And I can't think of a better way to heal the world of its woes.
Yeah, that's beautiful. To the uninitiated, to those who haven't had encounters with any sort of spiritual entity, they might think this sounds crazy. I don't even care. I truthfully, I will tell you that I have a love for these spirits more than I have for most people that I've ever met in my life. I have a compassion and a belief and a loyalty even to these spirits.
A loyalty.
More than, I mean, I wouldn't be out here doing what I'm doing if these entities didn't come down and tell my father, your family has to go forth and speak,
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, I don't know what the hell I'm supposed to talk about every week. We have this podcast. We hop on the phone. We're like, what do you want to talk about this week? I don't know. Let's do something. We're just going. And following that message and following that voice has brought us to places that we couldn't even dream of. We couldn't even fathom. And I know that these spirits are real. I know they come in many forms. And just talking to you, I get of what you're saying is the real deal.
It is.
I know it is. And I just want to thank you once again for speaking with us. I mean, it's an incredible honor. Would love to have you back sometime in the future, maybe after we read your 3 books, and then we'll actually know.
I can't wait. I'm about to order them tonight.
Yeah.
I cannot wait.
And if there's anything, this is for the 3rd time. I'm going to say this for the 3rd time. This is actually my final question. If there's anything that you feel is the most important message you could ever give to any or every living human being, elevator, and you're like, oh my God, I got to help this person's soul. What is your most important thing that you like to tell people?
I would tell everyone within earshot that love is our superpower, and it is incumbent upon each and every one of us to be the light we seek.
Wow.
Yeah, I love that. That's amazing. I got chills from that. That was amazing.
That's profound.
Beautiful.
That's profound. I'm not going to go into all the long, boring details, but I'll just tell you really quickly. And thank you for spending this time with us. Just your patience and your willingness to speak to us speaks volumes about your character. Thank you so much. I know you probably get asked to speak on thousands of programs, and it's like just a pain in the ass. But just thank you for speaking with us. But
thank you so much.
You're welcome.
I don't even remember what I was going to say, but
you're too excited, man. You're too excited.
What were we talking about?
I'll come back. I will. And
Beautiful.
Next time we'll do a show all about the galactic family and higher love and connecting with our star sisters and brothers from all over the universe.
Please, that sounds incredible. We have to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that'd be epic.
Amazing.
I do this all the time. I have this ADHD short circuit, and I forget what I was gonna say. I was gonna say something to the effect of it doesn't matter. We'll talk about it next time. All right. Well,
on the show, it'll come to you.
I know, yeah.
Write it down. Yeah.
Yeah, it's the second we hit the hang up button. It's okay.
Oh, there it was. Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you for tuning in. We appreciate it. And last thing, also your show. We talked about this off air. Please plug whatever product or program or whatever it is you want people to check you out, website, anything. Please go nuts and just list what it is you're working on.
Well, my website is down for repairs, so you can't access it right now. But when it comes back, it's going to be freaking phenomenal if I ever get it done. Everybody can find me on social media. I'm just kind of everywhere, omnipresent. But I do not do TikTok. I do not do Instagram. So if you come across me there, then it's just a clone. I get cloned an awful lot. But you can
I've been
find me
cloned
on Facebook, which is the official home of the paranormal, as we all know. And
Yeah.
so, and I also have a fan page called Buttercup Brigade, the Buttercup
Oh,
Brigade.
come on. That's
Love it.
Yes,
adorable.
yes.
Love
We're
it.
the
Love
good
it.
deed doers and the tree huggers that
Yeah.
look at the world through rose-colored glasses because it's the only way to see the world. So
Absolutely.
yeah, and that's good. I try to, to be able to be in touch with people through there because I've got I don't know, 35,000 people on my main Facebook page, and I can't
Whoa.
keep
Wow.
up with everybody. So, Buttercup Brigade is the best place to get in touch with me. My admins will let me know if somebody wants to reach out to me specifically. And the only other thing that I would say is that my books are all available on Amazon. Sometimes they run them on special, all three at once. Um, and I would highly encourage people to read them because it's a very deep dive. But once you come up from air on the other side, you're not the same person that went in, and you think differently about everything, and it can literally change your life. Like literally alter your consciousness to
Right.
read
Wow.
the true details of what happened to our family in that house.
I
So
believe
I would
House
anytime.
of
encourage everybody to read them.
House of Darkness, House of Light, correct?
Yes, volumes 1, 2, and 3. It was all supposed to be
Beautiful.
one book, and my family had too much to add, so it
That's how it
turned
goes.
into a trilogy. But
Yeah.
it really is one long extended story.
Well, I think that anytime someone interfaces with the truth, whether it's in written or spoken form, it alters their consciousness. I
Yes,
believe
it
in some
does.
sense that's why our podcast is doing so well organically because there's
Mhm.
real truth behind it and people can mock or criticize all day. It doesn't matter. It's true. And the truth is a force that can't be altered. I remember what I was going to say, and then we can leave after this. If you're ready and willing. I don't want to bore you with all the details, but I kind of grew up with NASA, the CIA, other intelligence agencies monitoring my family, and they still are, and they still do. And what I will tell you is, privately and recently, a little more publicly, it has been announced that my father has been involved intimately with some of the individuals with CIA and Army intelligence who ran the psychic spy program on behalf of the Army. There was a movie made about this that was a comedy. It was kind of like The Conjuring. It did not reveal the true contents of what happened, but it was called The Men Who Stare at Goats. Anyway, my whole point being meeting these psychic spies, getting to know CIA people who remote view with their consciousness and astral project and do all kinds of weird, hooky, spooky shit with their brain. The sense that I get living this double reality since childhood is that just meeting you, because of your lifelong contact with real, genuine spirits from another dimension that requires a higher frequency or some sort of higher vibration or whatever. I believe this is just my impression of you. You don't have to believe it, but I just want to speak it because it came to me. And who knows, maybe you'll resonate with this. But I believe because of your contact with spirits, because of your lifelong supernatural reality, that it has caused you to naturally unfold psychically and your consciousness has been naturally altered. And I'm willing to bet there's been millions of little moments in your life throughout these years, throughout these last 40 or 50 or however many years, that you'll hear a thought in your head and then something in your external reality will confirm that, or you've had synchronicities, or you think of someone and they call, or
Every day.
yep, because of your lifelong paranormal encounters, I'm willing to bet you've been psychically opened, psychically awakened. And that's why I would say that, like, when you speak, it holds a powerful weight. I believe that when people who are psychically awakened speak with truth and intention behind their words, it literally alters reality. So you don't have to resonate with that if you don't.
No, I think that I was born this way.
Yeah.
I really do. And I think that you're right. I think that even though, I have a degree in philosophy and I studied free will versus determinism ad nauseum in college, I do believe that it was my family's destiny to buy that
Mm.
farm, to have that experience for a decade, and then 30 years later for me to be the one to tell the story.
Yeah.
It all the pieces fell in perfectly into place for us to have that farm. And if one single piece would have been out of place, we wouldn't have gotten it. It was when you read the books, you will understand. you'll understand precisely what I mean. But I think that I was born to do this.
Absolutely.
And I absolutely know that I was born to introduce as many members of the human race to our galactic family as possible in the time that I walked this earth. I know that's why I'm here. It took me more than 50 years to figure out what my mission is, what my job is, who I am, where I come from, and why I'm here. And now that I know all of those things, I am a force to be reckoned with, and I don't give a damn who believes me. My motto is, what you think of me is none of my business. I am just here to speak my truth.
That's awesome.
And if it resonates with you, that's fantastic. But I am well aware that I am not here for everyone. And I just, try to be and to remain as pure of heart as I possibly can, and to show human empathy and compassion to all human beings and all creatures that enter my sphere. And as long as I live my life authentically and with the best of intentions, I have no need to fear death. I have no fear of death at all.
You're amazing. You're amazing.
You're incredible.
That's the perfect place to end it. Thank you so much for letting us help you with, I hope you get the sense that we helped you even a little, get your story out there further. And on that note, we have a tradition on our show. When we leave at the same time, on the count of 3, we say bye, guys. Do you want to do that with us?
Yes.
All right. You ready?
Yes.
3, 2, 1.
Bye,
guys. Thank you so much for watching. If you want to see more, check out our other videos.
And before you go, don't forget to subscribe. See you next week.
Peace.